My hot take, though, is that Daniel Ricciardo is overrated, and has been, and that Sebastian Vettel might be also a little overrated. Hey guys, welcome back to Cade F1. This is Cade. Got my dog coming in. Hey buddy. You wanna go lay down? Maybe I'll show him later. Hey, can you go lay down for me? You may hear him in the background, but yeah, what a race, man. I think, first off, I was way wrong on my qualifying prediction. I think, obviously everyone knew that Red Bull and Ferrari would be up at the top. But when it came to, and I also was right about Mercedes, I had a feeling they wouldn't be as quick as they were last week. But I just felt like Haas and Alpha would have been a little faster than they were. Surprisingly, we saw Sebastian and the Aston Martin pull out a strong qualifying. Obviously, Gasly, he had the pace to be up there, and then his team sent him out at the worst time and he wasn't able to get another fast lap in qualifying. But yeah, other than qualifying, Charles was on pole. Everyone, it was kind of his to lose. It's so hard to pass. It's so hard to pass at Monaco that it felt as if this was it. He hadn't finished a race there yet in his career. And maybe the first one he'd finish, he'd win. And, being from there, that could have been something special, but that's not how it played out. So let's kind of jump into it. So let's start at the top. I'm gonna do what I did last week with going through team by team. So let's start with Red Bull. Sergio, man, I couldn't be happier for him, especially after all the talk after last race, with the team orders and everything. Him getting this win, well deserved. He looked fastest. He looked not fastest, but faster than Max all week. And that could be just down to he found the right setup and Max couldn't. I'd predicted that Sergio was going to struggle in qualifying, but that wasn't the case. And you never know, Max. Maybe Max was going to put in a faster lap at the end right there, but Sergio did, throw it into the wall right before the casino, and kind of screwed up Max's and Carlos's laps. So we'll never really know, but Sergio did look a little bit quicker all week. But when it came to the race, it seemed like Max had the advantage, to be honest with you. Which you'd kind of expect just because Max is a higher quality driver, not by much. I'm very high on Checo. I love Checo. But I don't think that's crazy for me to say, or a wild take to say that Max is a little bit more talented as a driver. And when it matters, I think you see drivers like Max kind of turn it on more, even though qualifying matters just as much, But yeah, Sergio had a great race. The strategies played right into his hands. I wasn't really sure. So, when it comes to this, we have to talk about Ferrari as well. I was not sure why. First off, I wasn't sure why Red Bull didn't make one of their drivers stay out and go straight to slicks. I don't know if they were so convinced that they needed to go on inters, and they thought that was the right decision. They were going to do that with Max no matter what, and they didn't want it to look bad and not do Sergio on the same strategy. I don't know if that was part of it, because I think Carlos had the right idea. And that's, I mean, I'm sitting at home watching it on TV, you know, so like, who am I to say? But in my opinion, when I was watching it, I had the feeling like that they would be able to just go straight from wets to slicks. And so I thought Carlos was really gonna, you know, take advantage of it, and he was. I mean, I think what had happened is when he had come out on the slicks, I believe. Oh yeah, well he only pitted once. Yeah, so when he came out on the slicks, Latifi was like right in his way and slowed him down extremely. So I think that was like literally the only reason why Sergio was able to get out in front of him. But yeah, I mean, Sergio didn't put a foot wrong, other than, you know, in qualifying. But yeah, I have a certain, you know, I'm a Red Bull fan, so I'm obviously already biased towards Red Bull, but for some reason, when I see Sergio, he reminds me of my dad. Like, maybe I'll put up a picture, and maybe y'all will see it too. I'm not really sure. It's kind of a stretch. It's not, but people say my dad looks Hispanic sometimes. Like one time he was in the store and this dude came up to him and was like, Philippe, is that you, Philippe? And my dad is like, my dad's name's Kenny. Definitely not Philippe. And we're not aware that we have any, you know, any Spanish in our bloodline. But my dad gets mistaken, you know, for being Spanish sometimes, or Latino. And so maybe that's why I have a certain affinity for Sergio. I love just seeing him win. I love seeing him do well, because he reminds me of my dad a little bit. But yeah, Sergio, team player, well deserved. You know, it would have been interesting though if Max was in second. Like, man, I don't know. That would have been some major controversy if Max was in second. Just to see what Red Bull would have done. Man, I don't like. Red Bull has been lucky, I would say. Maybe last week was like the first time we really saw it kind of come to a head, or come to a point where they had to really make that tough decision. But even last year, they never really were in that position, because Checo was so far off of Max's pace. But this year, man, they're so close, and they've still been very lucky that, you know, situations like this happen, where like last year when Sergio won last year, Max wrecked out, so there wasn't any potential for, you know, controversy. Well, here you have Carlos in between Sergio and Max, and so it really kind of helped the Red Bull not to make that really tough decision. And now Sergio is only like less than 20 points away from Max in the championship. So Charles is still in between them, but man, it's gonna be really interesting to see how the teams manage that, or how Red Bull manages that going down to come to the end of the season, because we're still pretty early, and all it takes is Max to DNF like 1, 2, 3 times, and Sergio pull out a second, third place finish in those races, and then he's the favorite, you know, over Max. And so it's like, would Red Bull really favor Sergio? Like, if he was the favorite, if he had the best chance of winning the championship, would they pull team orders against Max? I don't know. That would be really fun to watch. And I have to say, like, I was thinking about this when I was watching the race, and after Sergio had won, is after seeing Sergio's performance this year, it's very clear to me that Red Bull, like this Red Bull lineup, could be like the Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas of the next 4 or 5 years. If Red Bull can continue to give them the right car, and they are able to, you know, appease Max and Sergio and keep them both happy, I could easily see this lineup, you know, going the distance. And which I would love to see. I think Sergio plays he plays his part pretty well. We haven't seen it get feisty yet. And I think it's just a matter of time before, like, even Lewis and Valtteri, you know, had moments where they would get a little feisty, even though like that was the best partnership maybe we've seen in F1 history, in a championship car. Now, I don't know. I feel like Sergio's a little more, Sergio may want that championship a little more than Valtteri did. And Sergio might be a little bit closer to Max than Valtteri was to Lewis. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to take a shot at Valtteri, because I think very highly of him as well. But yeah, that I would love to see Sergio and Max fighting for it, because I'm a Max fan overall. Like, Max is probably my number one guy, but still, I say this all the time, but I'm an F1 fan first, and I want to see competition. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Max just like dominate and win every race. There's no fun in that. But yeah, so Red Bull probably, you know, the team probably had the best team performance of the week. Not because they, you know, I mean, they definitely had the second fastest car this week, and so that's pretty good. That's pretty good, you know, outcome for them. All right, next is Ferrari. Carlos easily could have won the race, I think. If Latifi hadn't slowed him down on that outlap, it would have been his to lose. He almost had a shot at the end to pass Sergio again. I'm not sure why Red Bull chose to go on the mediums. To me, that didn't really make any sense. I don't know if they were expecting to get a lot more pace out of those mediums. But even then, if that's the case, or maybe they expected it to come out behind, like maybe they expected both their cars to come out behind the Ferraris. Because if you expected Sergio to go in front of Carlos, you should have at least matched him, you know, because you're not trying to pass anybody. You're trying to make it the distance. And you know he's not going to pass you if you have the same tires and yours are newer, you know. And then, so maybe you put Max on the mediums because you wanted him to be able to pass the Ferraris. But it's like, the only time you're going to see a pass is like earlier in the race whenever it was wet, and Pierre had such a tire advantage because he was on the inters and everyone else was on the wets. Like, you're not going to get that type of advantage between mediums and hards. It's not a big enough advantage to pass at Monaco, I don't think. So I'm not sure why they chose that. Ferrari made the right choice on going with the hards. And man, if Carlos just would have been held up for maybe like half a second, you know, a second, he could have beat Sergio coming out of the pits, and it had been Carlos's race. I had a feeling Carlos was going to have a solid week, but let's not act like Sergio, Carlos, and Max had a better weekend than Charles. Charles just got kind of screwed by his team. Charles had the worst strategy out of all of them. Like I said earlier, I'm still not sure. I don't know. Carlos was smart. Carlos had a feeling that they were going to go straight to slicks, and so yeah, Charles is a radio. I don't know if y'all have heard it, but they tell him to box because they're going to do a double stop. That's not the term. I forget the term. Where they box both of them at the same time, and they tell him to box, Charles to box, and he comes in, and they go stay out while he's already in the pit lane, and it's like Charles starts cursing him out, and I don't blame him, man. This is not only the championship, which is the most important thing, but also this is his home race that he's never finished, that he had the chance to win, that he put his car on pole, he did the work. Now the team just doesn't have to mess up, and he wins the race, and they messed up big time. So poor Charles, you know, I feel bad for him. Should have been his race to win. Another guy that had a great race was Lando for McLaren. Man, I say it all the time, but Lando is the guy. Lando, if McLaren's able one year to give him a car to compete with the top teams, Lando will be a Lando will be a championship driver, or a championship contender is what I should say. His teammate though, Daniel, this is kind of one of those things I want to, kind of dig a little deeper into. Man, I don't know. If he doesn't turn it around, he's gone next year. There's no way McLaren keeps him for next year. Also, I would think if it wasn't for his personality and his character and his marketability, let's say it was like who? Let's say maybe it was like Latifi, or who's someone even more unlikable. I don't know. Just imagine he was more unlikable. He wouldn't be here after summer break. I guarantee you that. Now, who replaces him? That's up in the air. I would love to see Colton Herta or possibly Pato O'Ward. Both are kind of linked to the team in different ways. Pato races for them in IndyCar, and Colton, he has some kind of deal with them to maybe compete in the FP1 this year, or a car from I think maybe he'll get like a shot in one of the cars from last year or something like that. But Colton's ultimately linked to Andretti, which has, there's been talks of them getting into F1. But anyways, and I kind of want to get y'all's opinion on Ricciardo, because I'm kind of a newer fan, so I wasn't really a fan whenever he was at his prime, which he should still be at his prime, technically. So if you want to leave some comments on y'all's opinions on Daniel, but I have a theory that it's possible that maybe Daniel was overrated, has been overrated for a while. And that, like, going back to, this is gonna be very controversial, but I have a hunch that, or let's call it a hot take. That's better, because I don't know what I'm talking about at the end of the day. My hot take though is that Daniel Ricciardo is overrated, and has been, and that Sebastian Vettel might be also a little overrated. And because what you had Sebastian win 4 championships. They had the best car those 4 years. All he had to beat was his teammate. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Sebastian was the best driver out of that whole, out of all those drivers. He was just better than his teammate. And then immediately once Daniel gets there, Daniel starts beating Seb. So it's like, so either Seb is not that good and Daniel's a little bit better than him, or Seb is like let's see, I have it on my wall right here. So Lewis has 7, Schumacher has 7, Fangio has 5, Sebastian has 4. So he has the 4th most titles in F1 history. And then Daniel comes in and is a better driver than him. He's that much better. He's that good. Daniel could be one of the best drivers in F1 history. And I'm sure that's what people were thinking early on. And Seb goes to Ferrari. And once Charles gets there, he immediately starts losing to Charles, and I know it was closer than that. Like I'm not, but a 4-time world champion, 10, 12 years in his career, and this Leclerc kid comes in a few years into F1's already starting to beat him, already is showing, maybe not the experience, but it's showing like talent wise that he's already up there with him. And then for Daniel, Kvyat beat him 1 year at Red Bull. And then as soon as Max gets to Red Bull, Max is starting to beat him. It's like, I think what happened with Daniel is that him being at Red Bull in those years where Red Bull was always the underdog. They were the odd man out. They were the best of the rest. They were the only team that could win other than the top two consistently. And so whenever, and Red Bull would only win when it came down to strategy. When their strategy hit, it would hit and they would win. And so whenever you're the best of the rest and you win a race and you don't have the fastest car, it kind of props you up. It makes you look really good. But in reality, they just had the third fastest car, and their strategy was, they optimized their strategy so well, that's why they won. And I mean, I know Daniel and Seb aren't, slouches. And I know a lot of people might disagree with this, but this comes from my point of view. This is my theory. I didn't watch any of those seasons, so there's a lot of information that I'm not privy to. I did go back and watch one of Daniel's races. I think it was China in 2016 or 2017, or it might have been 2018. I can't remember, but where he stormed through the field, overtaking left and right, braking super late, lunging like you don't see lunging like that anymore from anybody, and coming back and just putting in a crazy performance. But you just don't see that anymore. That. I think all that came down to, though, the only reason he was able to do that was because of strategy. He had the tires at the end of the race and no one else did. So there's my little hot take on Daniel and even Sebastian. I think it's showing Sebastian may have a little bit more, because he has such a worse car. I think he has I know he has a way worse car than Daniel does right now, and he seems to be right at Daniel's pace, which I don't know. I love Daniel. I love his attitude. I love his character. He just seems like in a slump. I'm not rooting against him. I hope he's able to come back and perform and compete with Lando. But yeah, it's crazy how fast his career is kind of, nosedived since joining McLaren. But yeah, let's stop shitting on Daniel. Let's see who we got next. So Alpine. I kind of skipped Mercedes. George Russell, again, top 5 finish. I mean, Mr. Saturday turned Mr. Consistent. Lewis, 8th. That's where I had put. See that in this is kind of my qualifying. I think I'd put Lewis in 8th. And I'd put George 5th, I think. But yeah, so Lewis kind of continued to struggle a little bit compared to George. I'm personally enjoying it, but I do hope that they kind of figure out the Mercedes and they're able to compete with the Red Bulls and Ferraris. A 3-horse race is way better than a 2-horse race. So after Mercedes, now we have Alpine. Fernando, I mean, dude, I saw an image of, it was the track, and it was the what's it called? It's on F1 TV. They have the option. You can see all the little, each car is a circle and it goes around the track, tracking the drivers where they're at on the track, and all the leaders were in one corner, and all the way on the other side, it's just Fernando, and then a train behind him. I'm not sure what his goal there was. I don't know if it seemed like he was purposely doing it, maybe to fuck with Lewis. I mean, we know Fernando would do that. Fernando seems the petty type, especially when it comes to dealing with Lewis Hamilton. And so, but then Fernando turned it on at the end and kind of pulled away, and Lewis didn't. But Fernando's teammate, Ocon, I believe Ocon would have finished in the points. I believe he would have finished 10th, but he had a penalty for wrecking into Lewis, which I think was the right call. He definitely turned in on him. He didn't leave him any space. I'm still, being such a young F1 fan, I'm still not really 100% sure on the rules, because it's like, sometimes they say if you're ahead going into the corner, then you have the right to like, the racing line. And then other times it's like you're supposed to leave space. It's really, maybe somebody can explain it if y'all want to down in the comments. But it seems very inconsistent. And I think Esteban's, argument was that he was ahead going into, like, he had passed him right before, they started like into the braking, he passed him. And so thus he should have the right to the racing line. But he had a penalty, I think it was 5 seconds, and it dropped him down to 12th. So Valtteri in 9th. I expected a lot more out of Alpha and Haas, to be honest with you, the two Ferrari sister teams. I expected to do better just because I knew Ferrari was going to do so well, have such great pace here at Monaco. I really figured that Alpha and Haas would have a little bit more pace, but they didn't. Valtteri, one of his lowest finishes of the year, if I had to guess, off the top of my head. And then and then Joe finished 16th. Great save. I mean, he had a crazy save. The commentators were applauding Carlos earlier in the race, for a save, but that save from Joe was nice. That was clean. And I props to him for going for it, And then Sebastian 10th. I think that was, definitely one of the performances of the week. I know I was just talking smack about him, but you got to give him props, Latifi hitting the wall in the formation lap, that was kind of embarrassing. I'm going to kind of skip through at the bottom. Man, and Haas, that I think Kevin had a puncture that retired him, and then Mick had that scary wreck. I don't know what happened there with Mick. And I didn't really see any explanation after either. It looked like he lost the rear or something. But I'd be really interested to see if there's like a further breakdown of that. But yeah, that was the Monaco Grand Prix. That was my kind of my takeaways from it. There's a few things I missed that I kind of wanted to talk about when it came to Red Bull. First off, it was very clear at one point that Sergio, when he was in the lead, he locked up going into that tight windy bit. And then I saw later on that he had actually braked to like not hit. It was some kind of animal that it was crossing the track. And he, I would love to think that he did that to not kill the animal, but really he just didn't want to damage his car, if I had to guess. And so he locked up trying not to hit the little animal. Maybe I'll put that picture up. And another thing, the big controversy was, Ferrari protesting that both the Red Bulls illegally crossed the pit exit line or pit exit lane. I don't know what the technical term is, but the line that separates, and especially at Monaco, there's a long pit lane exit because they kind of skipped that first corner. And so it was very clear. I didn't see it with Sergio. It was very clear with Max that he drifted out of over that line. And from what I've seen, it seems like that's illegal. It seems like they should have got some kind of penalty for that. The stewards decided not to pursue it. It helps, like, this is one of those things that benefits me because I'm a Red Bull fan, but I'm sure if I was a Ferrari fan, I'd be very upset and wanting a lot of clarification on why that was the case, So overall, this was probably like this race was definitely more exciting than last year's Monaco. I think with these new cars, it helps a little bit. They can definitely follow a lot more closely. Man, I would love for them, and I'm sure they would if they could. I'm sure they're very restricted over there at Monaco, but if they could widen, like one of the last turns of the track before a long straightaway to turn one. I mean, the finish line. if they could widen some, like just some of those a little bitty bit, I think it would create a lot more opportunities for overtakes. But I think Monaco still deserves a place on the schedule. I couldn't see it leaving. I think there would be a lot of upset people if Monaco was taken off the schedule. So yeah, I would give it a. I think I gave last week's race a 7. This one might be like a 6.5, 7. I think also, you know, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but another thing that I didn't talk about was the delay at the start of the race. And a lot of people are kind of arguing, you know, if we have wet tires, I thought the whole point was that we race in the rain. We race in the rain, you know? And I agree with that. But what I heard after the fact was that there was something like a power outage or something. And that's why they delayed the race. But that seems like they're covering for themselves, honestly, because it seems like that seems unprovable. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody can go back and really, you know, check them on that. But I don't know, man. I think people like just get upset about things. From my perspective, that wasn't a big deal. You know, yes, we have wet tires. Yes, we should race in the rain. Yes, if it's too dangerous, we don't want to, you know, we don't want to race if it's too dangerous. But also, I'm curious, you know, now that we have the budget cap or the cost cap, I wonder if the teams will be pushing more and more for not racing in the rain. So, you know, limit damage and to limit unnecessary costs, you know, of repair. So that's something I was thinking about too. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling on. That was the Monaco Grand Prix. Happy for Sergio, happy for Red Bull. I think they had a good solid race. So 2 weeks time, we have Azerbaijan. Let's see if Charles can redeem himself. This is where I'm stupid happened, where he wrecks into the castle section and goes, I'm stupid. Hopefully he can, you know, redeem himself from that, hopefully the team can redeem themselves from this performance at Monaco. But I think Azerbaijan has a little bit more. It definitely has more straights, which will benefit Red Bull. So Red Bull might be the team to beat. But let me know what y'all think. Let me know in the comments who y'all think will have the advantage in Azerbaijan in 2 weeks' time. All right, guys, that was it for this week's race review. Leave a like, comment. Sorry if I had low energy. I feel like I had low energy this video. I'll try to bring more energy next time. I had a long weekend. Kind of drank all weekend. And so I'm recovering today. All right, guys, y'all have a good rest of this week. See y'all in 2 weeks. Bye.